Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to talk about the curse revamps or changes or visual upgrades and whatnot for Path of Exile Heist League. So Heist League will start next week on Friday, so it's a couple more days to go. So I want to take this opportunity to talk about the upcoming changes that are going to apply to PoE Heist League with the curse changes, and probably tomorrow with the new skill changes or general overhauls of certain skills and mechanics. So today, as I said, I'm going to read over the curse skills and trying to provide some TLDR in the info box below while showing some gameplay footage on the right side of the screen. Without further ado, I would say we're just going to start right away, and then I'll just try to give my 1, 2, or 3 cents to certain topics for my professional analysis, right? Analysis. You guys know what I mean. So, curse skills in Path of Exile Heist. In Path of Exile Heist, we're making some changes to curses to provide incentive to self-cast them. We've made some small changes to existing curse mechanics, improved the visuals, and added 1 new curse skill and 1 new support gem. An overview of curses. Curses are among some of the first skills that were introduced in Path of Exile. Over time, we've introduced a number of ways to take advantage of their mechanics, like blasphemy support, which creates a self-curse aura, or adding the ability to apply curses with the curse on hit support. While having a number of methods of applying a curse is certainly a good thing, there was a lot of automatic cursing going on, and we wanted to give some incentives to those who wanted to take time to actually cast a curse manually on a pack of monsters. Why would somebody randomly curse a monster if you can just have a curse on hit ring or some corrupted gloves, or... It's automatic, it's 1 less button press, right? While we are doing this, it felt like a good opportunity to review all the curse gems and see what other improvements could be made. We were going to see if we could add any new curses to the pool, but found that the current set of curses already covers pretty much every niche we wanted. However, this didn't stop us from making other gems that could interact with them in some way. Bane, for example. To this end, we've added 1 new skill gem, 1 new support gem, reworked the number of curse skills, and improved their visual effects. So, talking about curse types, curses are now divided into hexes and marks. We've tried to make them feel distinct while still sharing some identifiable properties of being a curse. Hexes. Hex spells apply curse debuffs to the enemy in an area. If the spell was self-cast, the debuff will gain doom over time up to its maximum. This effect of the curse is increased by the amount of doom it has. So I would assume it's something like Pride, that you... So the way Pride works is it starts like on, I don't know, like enemy takes 20% more physical damage, and the longer the enemy is within the Pride range, it will then get up over time. So when you like stand next to the mob for like 4 seconds or so, then it will get 40% increased physical damage, basically, or more physical damage, right? So the longer you're there, the more effect it will have, and I think the curses or hexes will now work the same way. The curses that are now considered hexes are flammability, frostbite, conductivity, elemental weakness, vulnerability, despair, temp chains, enfeeble, and punishment. Marks. Marks apply the curse debuff on a single target and cannot be applied to more than 1 target. We've created a new passive skill that applies specifically to marks and marked enemies. We are aiming to move marks towards being more dexterity aligned as a mechanic, so these passives will be closer to the ranger area of the passive tree. Curses that are now considered marks are Warlord's Mark, Poacher's Mark, Assassin's Mark, and Sniper's Mark, which is the reworked projectile weakness. Oh, okay. So, talking about Impending Doom and Doom Blast. Impending Doom is a support gem that can support hexes. When the support hex expired or is removed in any way, it triggers Doom Blast, which causes a chaos explosion. The more doom the supported hex build up before its expiration, the greater damage the explosion will deal. Same as I just explained with the Pride, basically, right? So the longer the enemy is cursed, the more damage the explosion will do. There are a number of ways to cause the explosions to occur. At the most basic level, you can simply kill a monster with a supported hex. However, there are many other ways that you can cause a hex to expire, but that's an exercise that we'll leave you to figure out. There was a thing that we already tweeted to Bax. What about Bane? So Bane is applying a curse. Usually, you should, right? So like Bane with like linked with the spear and stuff like that. And if you would like recast the Bane, then you would reapply the despair curse, right? Because it's always like, let's say I curse a monster for 10 seconds, right? And after 3 seconds, I curse it again, so the curse is renewed, basically, right? But then it's questionable if it actually works with the certain way that it shows here with the longer the monster is cursed, the stronger the curse or hex or mark will get, right? So, Hex Blast. This is a new skill gem that calls down a beam of chaos damage on the target. If the target is cursed with a hex, it consumes that hex and causes a shockwave around the enemy. Similar to Impending Doom, the more doom the supported hex build up, the greater damage the skill deals. Although Hex Blast is a chaos damage spell, it has some elemental themed properties that make it special. For one, the damage it deals has the ability to ignite, shock, or freeze. Secondly, it deals damage based on the lowest resistance the enemy has. For example, this lets you use an offensive hex such as flammability and still makes use out of the fire resistance reduction that it provides. That looks like, or it sounds pretty cool. Punishment. Punishment has now changed to provide benefit for a greater variety of builds. It no longer causes you to gain bonuses when monster hit you, but instead curses monsters to take increased damage when they are on low life. This synergizes with the second effect that punishment now applies, which causes monsters to explode, dealing a percentage of your overkill damage to monsters around them. In addition, if cursed monsters hit you, they get debilitated, a debuff that causes enemies to deal less damage and have less movement speed for a duration. These changes make punishment much more useful and more well-rounded curse, with mostly offensive capabilities as well as the defensive component to it in the case that monsters are able to get close to you. Sniper's Mark doesn't have any information here, it just says to be revealed later. So existing marks, all mark curses have been rebalanced to make it more suitable for a single target. In addition, the curse penalties that is found on many bosses in the endgame no longer applies to marks and only applies to hexes, allowing marks to apply to these bosses at their full power. Other small changes, we also made some smaller changes to radio values, bonuses that certain curses give, and some additional quality stats. You'll find these changes outlined in the patch notes. Waiting for that still. Patch notes when? In addition to these changes, there will be some passive tree adjustments and new keystones that changes how self-cast curses apply their debuffs. Check out the curses in the action video below that we are currently watching. Anyway, so that's it. That are the info that we got basically on the revamp of curse skills. I personally, like, this is my like 2-3 cents, right? In the perspective, personal opinion, don't get me wrong here, in the perspective of a softcore player that likes to play around with like insane speed builds, headhunter and whatnot, self-curse temp chains, even like the more movement speed, the more clear, the better. And I personally, it has to be tested, you know, we need to have the information of the gems, we need to see how much damage this Hex Blast is doing, how much damage the Doom Blast is doing and stuff like that, you know, to even see if it's worth it to cast, you know, like, for example, if we take a look at the Bane Pop Occultist that I've played like a couple of weeks ago, that is using Explodey, you know, with the Herald of Ash to generate some sick chain reactions. And that is just one cast. It's one Bane, the entire screen explodes, right? Hex Blast, or at least like Impending Doom and stuff, where monsters that lose a curse will explode, has kind of the same effect. It might be actually quite interesting, because then you don't have to use obliteration ones. You maybe not have to use the Occultist, although it is good because the curses can apply to hex-proof enemies and stuff like that. It's kind of have to be the Occultist just because of that fact, because if there is like a curse or at least like a hex-proof map or something, you cannot do anything, basically, when it comes to curses. Bane will still do some damage, I assume. So, overall, I just think, when would you actually, like, it's so much quality of life if you have like curse on hit rings, right? Like, vulnerability level 8 on a steel ring, for example, for melees, or any kind of other ring like this spear or something like that. So you know you're applying it. It's not the best of the best because they are only like level 5 or level 8 or something like that, right? But you know you don't have to worry about it, and enemies will be cursed whatever you're doing, even if you default attack them, right? And it is so much quality of life, and you have like way higher steady DPS because you can just DPS without wasting 1 or 2 seconds global cooldowns to apply curses before you actually start DPSing. So yeah, maybe it gives you some DPS with less quality of life. So I would probably see it more towards single target or something like that, where you really have like high HP pool monsters where it's really worth it to use all those curses. But in the mapping aspect, I personally think it's just going to be too slow when it comes to like speed farming and stuff like that, and I would rather still go with curse and hit rings or setups and stuff like that. But as I say again, this just has to be tested. Maybe this self-casting cursing is just the new type of Bane, but don't forget, only because you're applying a curse and you trigger the explosions after reapplying the curse, it just doesn't deal any damage afterward, like before that point, right? If I would just use Bane, Bane is a damage over time skill, so I'm just inflicting or cursing the enemies and they are getting damage over time and they will die at a certain point, right? A curse kill doesn't deal damage, and even if I reapplied and I triggered the explosions, what if it's not dealing enough damage? So I always have to double cast to deal any kind of damage. So I think like a pure curse caster itself, even though it deals damage, is probably not that viable. I think more towards like it's an addition, and maybe we can actually make a very nice Bane Pop Occultist just in the new version. As I said again, I was tweeting back if that actually works with Bane, because I could apply a curse, for example, right? Or let's say I do Bane first, and if the monster doesn't die and I throw in a self-cast Despair afterwards, I would remove the old curse and it would still trigger the chain reactions. But yet again, this has to be tested. I need to see that live, how it really works to make a good opinion, if it's viable for something like that, or if it's just like, yeah, nice that we have it changed, but still nobody's going to use it because it's just too slow. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you on the next video.